There's really nothing to celebrate here, even those of us who are opponents of his politics and his policies. This is a sobering moment, I think, for him. And there's a lot of pain that comes as you go through this process. There's pain for there's pain in this marriage. There's pain for your kids. He's a grandfather. So there's a lot of human stuff that the cameras can't capture. So I don't take any celebration in seeing him looking that way. He looks sad. Now, doesn't mean that accountability is not owed. We don't know what he's going to be charged with. There's a lot more, but at that moment, that is not a conqueror. That is a granddad having a very bad day.
Van Jones. I understand that it's on brand for Van Jones. He's supposed to be the person with, I don't even want to say like radical empathy, because it's kind of like pointlessly upside down empathy or whatever, but it's somewhat consistent for him. And he has said many reasonable things in the past. He has held reasonable positions, but most recently, he likes to shake things up. And he did right there. The idea that Donald Trump's grandpa-ness has anything to do with any of this. I don't just mean like the case or whatever, but like how Trump is feeling. You think he's thinking about Barron or whatever, or any of the kids, any of the grandkids? You think he's thinking about Melania? You think he's thinking about any of that? He doesn't give a damn about any of that. He is thinking about himself. He is always thinking about himself. And in particular, when he's being arraigned, he is thinking about himself. And on an eve in which we finally take one of the early, but still belated steps towards consequences for all of the many crimes he has enthusiastically committed, that you would spare any, I'm even pretending that it's honest, maybe it is, your empathy to think of the kids, think of the grandkids. Poor Pop on the stand right there. Yeah, why didn't Pop think about that when he was popping in his affair 4 months after Barron was born? How about some empathy for them?
Exactly my point. So granddad's having a bad day, or maybe grandkids are hearing about his affair with a porn star, and then his attempt to pay her off to keep her quiet, and then fraudulently showing those funds coming from other sources as he paid his attorney back for paying her off, and then trying to hide that as well. That's what we're finding. Is that what we're finding about grandpa? Sometimes we find out horrible things about grandpa. Many times it's after they passed away, and we're like, oh man, I know grandpa did that. Except they're finding out why grandpa is still here. So Van Jones's attempt to try and always center these things when it seems like the leftists are getting too far ahead as far as whatever scorecard he's keeping, because nothing has happened yet to this guy, by the way, but he has to try and balance it out and think, I gotta come up with something to make sure that those folks who are feeling so bad today are feeling better without me looking like a Fox News personality, because he's trying to toe the line without going that far with the craze.
Yeah. He's trying to, again, he's branding it as let's have some empathy or whatever, which is not what you'd get from Fox News. But it's just like, and fine, you can think those thoughts, that's what he would go back to multiple times in that talk. Have some empathy for the victims of Donald Trump. And I don't just mean in this case. How about the dozens of other women who have made allegations against him when it comes to sexual harassment and sexual assault? Think about the millions of victims of the legislation that he signed, the executive orders that he passed. Oh, I don't know, maybe the Supreme Court justices that he put on the stand. I appreciate that you have empathy and you want to center empathy in your politics. I too want to do that, but there are perhaps better targets for your empathy than Pop.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.